Hello there everybody, Sabata92 aka Nightmare, and welcome back to DS Irae interview with Kaziklu Bey. In the last episode, we had ourselves a nice little moment between Beatrice and Bey in a train, and just seeing Claudia act as the supposed secondary commander because, you know, Babylon aka Lisa just kind of had to scout on ahead to see what the hell was going on, and we got ourselves a bit of a Day of the Dead possible situation, or some human that's just casually using other people's souls, and all that good shit. Oh, by the way, a large amount of footsteps as well.
他はだいたい一人に一つずつだったから経験豊富な方になるのね。自慢できることじゃないんだけど。
それはどうしてですか？要は歴戦ということなんでしょ？
何度も経験すべきじゃないことっていうのもあるからね。
Got that right.
Babylon gently avoided Claudia's question and formed a faint smile. We were already on the outer edge of the forest, so we knew we'd encounter the walking corpses at any moment. Most would have assumed that Babylon didn't want to talk because this wasn't the situation for it. But I knew the situation was different. I knew the truth was different. She probably just didn't want to talk about what kind of anomaly she'd faced. Claudia was questioning me and Beatrice as well, but we weren't giving her any answers either.
やめとけクラディア。俺らで懲りたろ。聞いても無駄だ。そいつは業が深い女だからな。3度も経験するってのはそういうことだよ。
Basically, the anomalies that fucker Mercurius had told us to take care of were all the kind that made us feel like he was indirectly mocking us. It was as though he were saying, "This is how stupid you are," so we really didn't want to talk about it. We were all sure the one at Katyn was probably the same in that regard.
ま、ここでのことを踏まえつつ好きに想像してりゃいい。わかったな。
なんだか釈然としませんが、了解しました。あなたが珍しく他者への気遣いを示しているんですから、それを尊重することにします。
I wanted to correct her misconception, but talking was a fucking hassle, so I just placidly waved my hand.
ごめんなさいねクラウディア。あなたもここに立ち会っている以上、知りたいことは多いでしょうね。
Also, this theme sounds good, but boy do I have very bad memories being dredged up from that.
けど改めて意外というか、なんだか積極的なのね。
Looking at you, Rusalka!
今もそうだし、例に応じないところもそう。もっと言えば看護団の出だというのもすごいわね。度胸があると表現するのは簡単だけど、怖くないの？
いや、怖いですよ。でも私は結構鈍いですから。
She said it, not me.
半分だもんな。
はい、そういうことで。
違います。
Beatrice, who was ahead of us, suddenly turned around.
戦争をはじめとする危機的状況において、ただ恐れおののくだけが人間じゃありません。大半は怖がると同時に楽しみます。だから修羅場を恐れて嫌うだけの人間は純粋にそれを楽しめるものと同じくらい稀有なんだと知ってください。本当にめったと見られるものじゃないんですから。そんなわけであなたはすごく普通ですよクラウディア。肝試しは楽しいですもんね。
Wait, what?
はあ。
Overwhelmed by Beatrice's barrage of words, Claudia didn't know how to respond. I was more or less used to the bitch arguing against Claudia's thought process, but she seemed to be getting more and more desperate as time passed. I wanted to make a comment, but decided against it, since I actually agreed with her point. Deadly situations were both fun and exciting. The very best festivals were always the most dangerous ones. Anyone who thoroughly denied the sensation was lying. Fuck, if you ask me, they were a bunch of freaks.
なるほど。兵士として眼蓄のある意見をありがとう。確かにそうかもしれないわね。
Is it just me, or is Lisa's voice just a little bit lower than usual?
それで何か異常の兆候は見つかったかしら？
It's probably just me.
いえ、特には。
She shook her head in an uncomfortable manner. Beatrice was the most mobile of us all, so we had her go in front of us.
何もおかしなところは見当たらないし、感じませんね。こう言ってはなんですが、すごく普通の森ですよ。まあしかし、毎夜のように何千もの死体が動き回っているなんてことだったら、特にこの一帯は戦争より大ごとになっていたでしょうけど。
要は周期があるんだろう。違うかバビロン。
怪異が起きやすい日とそうじゃない日があるってことですか？
そうね。
Babylon nodded and pointed to the sky.
Oh wait, are we gonna go tackle like maybe moon cycles? Like the positioning of the moon would actually affect like how strong it is or how powerful the magic is, I assume?
私が調べた限りにおいては、おそらくあれ。
Oh, so I was right.
どうも月齢と関係があるみたいよ。
Yep.
The full moon hung high above us, lighting up the night. It went without saying that it was a celestial body closely linked to the arcane.
傾向として月が満ちるにつれ目撃情報が増えている。その点今夜はこれだから確率的にはかなり高くなるはずなんだけど。
出ねえじゃね
条件がもう一つあるからね。そっちについてはまだ成立していないからしばらくの間待ってみましょう。
え。なんだそりゃ。煮え切らねえな。知ってることがあるならさっさと言えよ。
However, all I got from her was an implicative smile. That was one of her bad habits. She wasn't alone in that, though. Malleus, Kristoff, and most of all, Mercurius were just like her. Fucking eggheads had a tendency to put on airs of intelligence. They were too prudent and valued knowledge so much that they got all stingy about it. Made them want to wait for the right moment to share their wisdom, just so it would have a stronger effect. What an annoying bunch, holy shit. They themselves would whine about it non-stop if someone did it to them. Don't they think that's dumb?
レイ、何を考えているのかは大体わかるし同感ですが、あなたが言うことじゃありませんよ。
だから口には出してねえだろ。
Fair point.
顔に書いてるんですよ。ねえクラウディア？
はい、それはもうありありと。
Yeah, but I didn't say it, did I?
うるせえな、どいつもこいつも。
とにかく今はただ待つこと。気長に行きましょう。単に月齢だけの問題なら待てばいい話だけど、もう一つの条件は運も相応に絡んでくる。
You know, I think there's one thing that I kind of want to bring up here. Like, I already know how the character of Wilhelm is in the OG DS Irae, so I know that this is technically kind of a prequel, but it seems to me like the Wilhelm that I'm seeing now really is no different than the Wilhelm that I've seen in the other one, and I'm kind of glad that they're kind of keeping it that consistent. I don't know, maybe I'm just not paying enough attention to Wilhelm, and there might be some slight difference here just because of Claudia's existence, but I was afraid. One thing that I was afraid of as soon as I saw Claudia being introduced, like, okay, what are they going to do to Wilhelm? Like, I mean, again, it's still in the mind that this is a prequel, but it seems like they're keeping the characters consistent to their overall character, so I'm kind of grateful for that. Kind of. They're not trying to pull off some sort of cliche.
だから下手に教えて感触を起こされても困るし。一応今夜のうちに可能性があるとだけ言っておくからあまりカリカリしないように。わかった？
I reluctantly nodded. Pissed me off that she treated me like a brat, but she was the type of woman that was hard to talk back to. Not to mention, she was above me on the chain of command at the moment.
じゃあしばらく待機ということでいいですか？ それとも進むだけは進みますか？
そこは進んでおきましょう。いざことが起こった時、森の深部にいた方がいろいろと手っ取り早い。なのでもう少し歩くけど大丈夫かしら、クラウディア。
平気です。皆さんの邪魔にならないよう気をつけますから、どうぞできるだけ普段通りに。
まあいよいよきつくなったらベイにおぶってもらいなさい。
Seriously?
なんで俺がやんねえよ。
冷たいわね。そこはあなたの責任でしょう。
その時は私がやります。こいつの背中に女子を預けるなんて危なすぎる話でしょう。
Is that a challenge?
ごもっともだが大きなお世話だ。
I couldn't use formation while carrying Claudia, and the Night of Bloodstained Roses wasn't even an option. It affected everyone in the area of effect, enemy or not.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the slight kind of down. It's okay. In Wilhelm's like mine, it's a bonus, but from a strategic point of view, it could be a very negative sign if there's somebody that he's working with, begrudgingly.
Naka was kind enough to be considerate of Babylon and Beatrice, but I didn't want Claudia to be caught up in it. She'd probably be drained in just a couple of seconds. Wasn't the right time for that to happen.
とはいえここでこいつが化けりゃ別だがな。
ちょっと今何か言いましたか？
なんでもねえや。ほらてめえはさっさと先陣切れ。
We continued walking deeper into the forest. Soon enough, the fog grew thick and the smell of death filled the air. On the way, we saw a whole lot of holes dug in the ground. They were empty, but they obviously used to contain corpses before something got them out. All our faces turned stiff. The atmosphere here made it evident that this was indeed a forest of the dead, and it was clear that the ground beneath us was still full of undiscovered remains. Normal people wouldn't tread on the ground, even for a dare. You could almost feel the remnants of the victims' resentment and hear the echoes of their regretful wails.
ここだろ。
Into the good shit?
ええ、間違いないわね。
Deep in the forest, we found a natural opening with a hill in it. We didn't see any moving corpses yet, but I couldn't be more certain that I was looking at the place of the massacre.
プンプンよぜ。なるほど、こりゃマンじゃ効かねえ。ずいぶん派手にやりやがったみたいだな。
というよりまるで流れ作業ね。ここまで来たら屠殺に近いわ。
確かに違いね
Being reapers of human souls, we had a nose for this kind of thing, so we could more or less tell what had happened here. The air, abnormally thick with death, told us all we needed to know. They formed lines of troops and then methodically and systematically, and perhaps even with integrity, gunned down the people one by one like a row of dominoes. Babylon was right. It's more like a slaughter than a massacre. Hell, considering the purpose, it was safe to call it a disposal. Bringing the prisoners of war over to their country was too much of a bother, so they decided to just dump them. I could almost feel that sentiment here, and I wasn't too far off the mark either. Really, I had no words for what I saw. Man, what a waste of good resources.
まあそういう意味じゃうちらの収容所も大概だがな熱がねえ殺しなんざつまんね
え。逆に言うと人間らしい感情を絡めたままここまで殺すことはできないのかもね。
It had to be somebody that's completely lacking in humanity.
仕事だから命令だからその一言で麻痺する人種は大勢見てきた。彼らは普段優秀と言われ人格者とさえされるものが多いのよ。
お前やザミエルみたいにか人事みたいに言うんじゃねえよ。てめえらだって血まみれだろうが。俺は自分のために自分が殺したいから殺す。言い訳はしねえし逃げもしねえ。それこそハイドリ秘境がやってるように。
二人ともいい加減にしてください。クラウディアの前ですよ。
Unable to bear it, Beatrice joined the exchange.
殺人の意味や定義についてそれぞれ見解はあるでしょうし、 私も自分がやってきたことをごまかすつもりはありませんが、せめて民間人の前じゃカッコくらいつけましょう。それが欺瞞でも偽善的でも、軍人ならばそうするべきです。なぜなら我々は国と民を守るためにいるんですから。
守るね。
Naturally, I couldn't even begin to relate to that. You were on such a different wavelength that I even found it stupid to talk back.
まあ何でもいいが、それよりお前は気づいてるか。
何をです？
She squinted with a suspicious look in her eye as I looked around the area.
時期にばらつきがある。血の匂いが一定じゃねえ。
So, it wasn't all at once, it was sporadic?
それは
I had to tell her, but she noticed it too. It wasn't like she was weak on this front. We just had different fortes. Nevertheless, falling behind me at something was probably humiliating for her.
つまりどういうことですか？
別にこれといって大したことでもねえよ。ただここで死んだのはかわいそうなポーランド野郎だけじゃねえみたいだぜ。
ああ。
カチンの虐殺は 4,5 年近く前のことだし、実際それくらい古い地臭が大半だ。けど他に新しいのもあるんだよ。
Oh.
それはつまりカインの犠牲者ということですか？確か最初にリサさんもそんなようなことを言っていた気が。
にしても少し数が多すぎます。こんな不吉で気味が悪い森の中心部にわざわざ周辺の住民が大挙してやってくるわけがない。ベイほど正確には測れませんが、多分100は超えてますよ。
100って。
しかもこりゃ仇じゃねえな。戦闘の跡が。となりゃ一個中隊。いや、新しい中でも微妙にズレがあるから3個か4個の小隊か。バカが戦力の蓄字投入をしやがった。最初に偵察隊を送り込んだが全滅して、次にそこそこの規模を送り込んだがまた全滅。それでいよいよマジになったが、これまた全滅。そんなとこだろ。アホ丸出しだぜ。
I chuckled and looked at Babylon.
よう、これどういうことだ？俺らの他にも組織だってカチンに来てる連中がいんのかよ。
そうね。クラウディアの手前、黙っておいた方がいいと思ったから言わなかったんだけど。
She heaved a sigh.
東方正教会とそれからバチカン、そこの部隊が何度か投入されたみたいよ。
Oh, goody. I got a vampire. Where's our Alexander Anderson?
え？教会って何ですかそれは？
The fact that Claudia, a member of the church, was surprised by this was both stupid and only natural. Organizations never showed their true faces to their adherents, especially not ones as simple as that idiot.
クラウディア、あなたも看護団の一員として軍事に関わっていたでしょ。これはそこからもう少し延長した話なんですよ。どんな組織でも維持していくには綺麗事だけじゃ済まされない面があります。だから力が必要になるのはわかりますね。
政治力、経済力、そして武力。ええ、権力とはそういうものね。まして教会はある意味で世界最強の組織でしょう。信徒の数、歴史の深さ、共に並じゃないからね。当然闇も深くなる。
つまり簡単に言うとだな、てめえが愛する神の家は教義に都合の悪い連中をぶちのめす殺し屋どもを飼ってるってことなんだよ。何もおかしな話じゃねえだろ。
I could have swore there was like some sort of movie that went around called Dogma, and they had the actor that played Professor Snape and Harry Potter in that film. think it was called Dogma or something like that. God, I wish I could remember what it was. I think it was supposed to be some sort of comedy.
俺はよく知らねえが、これまで十字軍だ異端審問だとさんざっぱらやってきたらしいじゃねえか。それは今でも続いてんのさ。
Well, hell, you know what they say. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
そもそもお前自身も言ってただろうが、神とはそういうものだってよ。
ベイ、だからあなたは。
まあ驚いたでしょうけど、そういうことよ。家賃の怪異が死者のよみがえりというにはいびつだけど、それでもキリストの特権を犯しているから第一級の異端よね。教会としては抹殺せずにいられない。その割にはベイも言う通り甘い見積もりだったみたいだけど、そこら辺はやっぱり時代なのかしらね。副首領閣下殿が言ったように、最後で最強の神秘は私たちなのかどうかはともかくとして。
Right. Didn't matter at all. Even if the dogs of the church were involved in the matter, they couldn't do shit to get in our way, as proven by their total annihilation. Well, that was all in the past. So, all we'd done here was teach dumb little Claudia how the world actually worked.
やっぱり傷つきましたか？だったらごめんなさい。別に私はあなたや信徒の方々を蔑みたいわけじゃなく。
いえ、気になさらないでください。確かにびっくりしましたけど、皆さんのおっしゃる通りだと思いますし。
Nothing phases you, does it?
教会の実態がどうであろうと、それで祈りが曇るわけではないと私は。
Suddenly, Claudia cut her words short and looked up.
なんだ？どうしたよ？
いえ、ただ雨が。
本当だ。降ってきましたね。
Oh! Before I'd realized that the moon above was shrouded in thick clouds, it released light rain over us. And it didn't take long for it to become a deluge.
ちょっとこれは大変です。
参りましたね。私たちはいいとしても、こんなところで降られたらクラウディアが風邪をひく。
Didn't think to bring an umbrella, did we?
ベイ、彼女をどこか雨宿りのできるところに。
You fucking tell me what to do?
くそ、鬱陶しいな。いきなりバシャバシャ振りやがって。
My complaint was followed by thunder that made Claudia cower. Ignoring her completely, Babylon looked up.
来るわね。
Oh my!
And whispered those words. Then she raised her voice.
二人とも即時臨戦態勢を取りなさい。これが第二の条件よ。
Oh!
それは。
つま
ええ、地中の何かに雨を通じて死者の無念が届くんでしょう。怪異が起きるのは満月期。
Shit!
そしてこんな雨の夜出てくる。
I suddenly felt the ground beneath me jump up as though pushed from below. At the same time, one of the nearby trees was struck by lightning. It was ripped apart and uprooted, causing it to fall on the softened ground and making it crumble. Claudia was caught up and swept away by the resulting wave of dirt. Fuck. I talked shit about her for being dull again, but I didn't even consider helping her. I knew that going after her was the smartest thing to do in the situation, but I just wasn't feeling it. Why, you ask? Remember how I told you that fusion types couldn't think straight when we went too wild? Exactly. It was strong enough to make us awaken the sorcery, embrace our lust for battle, and become aware of our craving.
私の愛しいビルヘルム。
Oh, god damn it. Hey, Helga. The dark gift that flowed within me. My kiss in the dark. The devilish rose told me to drain all life until only corpses remain.
あなたを愛してるのよ。私以外の女はいらないでしょ。
ふざけやインバイ。てめえも所詮俺の餌だ。
I'll do you till you're in pieces, so give me all your blood. Let's give it a good shape.
やつ
Following that demented shriek of a laugh, my fangs, the thorns of blood were made manifest. Myriad stakes spread from my skin like fleshy veins. This was me, number 4 of the Obsidian Round Table, Wilhelm Ehrenberg, Kaziklu Bey, the one who nursed the blood of Vlad Tepes, the only true vampire in the world. Of course, I didn't enter this state just for show. The anomaly was happening right before us, and that was more than enough reason for me to transform. Nice. Also, I wasn't the only one on the scene with something plant-like going on. Numerous hands are popping out of the ground all muddy because of the downpour, and as you can imagine, the site looks somewhat like a flower field. They covered the whole area as far as the eye could see. The sight was grotesque, and though it's in bad taste, it wouldn't have been wrong to state that the hands were in bloom. Of course, the flowers didn't stop growing there. Damn! After the hand came the arms, shoulders, heads, torsos, and it wasn't long until we had the full walking corpses. Half of their bodies were nothing but bone, and all the holes on them were leaking filthy liquids and spilling maggots. They were so generic that I felt bad for them. We were all undead here, but compared to them, we Knights of Lord Heidrich's Reich were on a whole other realm. The idea that this was their original fate was downright fucking insulting. I would grind them all into dust, making them wither and let the world behold their remains, waste them and end their journey forever. With that roar as my signal, I kicked the mud below my feet and danced my way into the anomaly, punching and pulverizing the head of the first corpse before me. I felt basically no resistance. It was like breaking a dead, rotten tree, and I instantly realized that there was nothing I could take from them. No soul or blood. There was nothing I could drain, and that pissed me the fuck off. You might be thinking, duh, of course corpses wouldn't have any life in them. But I wasn't in a state of mind to accept such logic. My urge for violence was basically screaming that they weren't worthy opponents. Because of that, obviously, I wasn't the one who analyzed the situation properly. A blue bolt of lightning grazed my side and reduced several dozen corpses into scrap. Anyone with common sense could tell this wasn't your usual rage of the storm.
なるほど。単体の脅威度はさほどのものじゃありませんね。動きは遅く、思考もしない。
Oh, god damn it, you're showing off!
力は強いのかもしれませんが、この程度なら。
She paused her words and spun her body into a backward roundhouse kick. Despite her slender frame, it created a whirlwind that blew away all the undead that were caught up in it.
まず我々が遅れを取ることなどありえない。不満ですか、ベイ？
Yo, Claudia, you seeing this shit?
なあ、こんなカスのどれだけ潰そうが単なる魂の無駄遣いだ。
そうですね。でも素の格闘でどうにかできるほど甘いわけじゃないですよ。最低でも形成はしないといけない。あなた流に言えば数ほどの何かを持っている相手じゃないのは確かですが、それでも全くの空かというとそうではない。死者を操る神秘の力が働いているのは確かです。だからこちらも同志の断りを持って砕かねば彼らは八つ焚きにしても止まらないでしょう。
Yeah, she was wrong about that. That wasn't dense enough for us to convert into fuel. An anomaly like this had to be run by some sort of magic technique. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and an arcane for an arcane. Common sense, really. These corpses wouldn't die no matter how many normal attacks you landed on them. You could reduce them to singular teeth or nails, and even then, they'd crawl at you like maggots before regaining their forms further down the line. Sure, a bomb strong enough to reduce them to ash would probably do the trick, but sadly, we didn't have any with us. To us, this is a battle of attrition where we couldn't gain anything. We were in a rainy forest of the horde of undead as far as the eye could see. Though they seemed limitless at first glance, the info we had told us there were nearly 20,000 of them. The fact that we couldn't stock up actually made it a pretty difficult situation, all things considered.
Oh wait, I just noticed there's actually, I don't know if those are specifically roots that cause that, but it looks like some of the wounds were bullet. Like this guy's got a bullet hole in his head. Or, I don't know, those might just be like from attacks or something like that. Or the roots themselves probably did it.
My best option was to limit my energy consumption, but
うぜえ。なんだこのめんどくせえ状況は。手加減なんざできる勝負じゃねえんだよ。
Jesus! I roared and shattered all the corpses gathering around me. Of course, they were as frail as before, but their numbers meant that they were best destroyed with appropriately large-scale magic. And like I said, holding back for that was pretty much impossible for me. I just wasn't the type, in terms of both temperament and fighting style. Wilhelm Ehrenberg is a simple man, you see. Just light him up and he explodes.
I fucking love how this fucking looks.
あ？なんだそれ。どういうことや。
As she launched lightning as powerful as my attacks, Beatrice looked at me with cool eyes, devoid of her usual stupidity, and matter-of-factly explained the situation.
彼らが聖あるものを襲うのはそれを奪いたいからです。血を、命を、魂を持っていないから取り込みたい。動機は少々違っても要はあなたの同類ですよ。だから群がってくるんです。あなたも私も今は一人の人間が持ち得ない量の命を持っている。彼らからすればとても魅力的なかがり火のように見えるでしょう。ゆえに
Her lightning-clad blade sparked as she swung it at will, reducing the undead to carbon and dispersing the remnants of magic within them.
ここで我々が引きつければそれだけクラウディアの安全度は上がります。
What? Wait, what? I didn't even understand what she was talking about. Well, in fact, I'd forgotten all about the woman until she mentioned her. Apparently, this idiot wanted to act as a decoy so that Claudia wouldn't be attacked. It took me about 5 or 6 seconds to catch on.
何ですか？文句でも？
Of course I fucking did! Beatrice's suggestion had nothing to do with actual taking care of the undead! They were empty, so they targeted us, who were full of souls. Sure, if we went all out and spent our fuel to keep the flame alive, so to speak, burning bright, Claudia would go unnoticed by them. What about it, though? What would we do afterward? We'd still be wasting souls, and the situation would be shit! Fuck, it'd get even worse!
バカかてめえは。話にならねえ。
Especially since she was the one with the lowest soul reserves among us.
そんな真似すりゃ、お前は早晩ガス欠だろうが。自殺志願者かよ、この間抜けが。
ですか？しかしならば何です？私は生き方を変えられないし、変える気もない。それはあなたも同様に。
She launched another lightning bolt, not holding it back at all. They shattered the undead, vaporized the rain, and filled the air with static.
よってどのみちこうするしかないでしょう。あなたは加減ができないし、私はする気がない。なのに文句を言うとは怖いんですか？こんな程度の危機を前に死神がちらついてしまうとでも？それがあなたの器ですか？ビルヘルム・エーレンブルグ中尉殿。
I'm sorry, are you testing me? Are you testing me right now? Right when I'm in the middle of my group? Really? Though it sounded like it, she wasn't actually provoking me. The reason Lieutenant Beatrice Kierstein was called Kierheisen was called Valkyria was exactly because she was an honest idiot. It was to the point of making me want to kill her, actually.
私の器はこんなところで終わらない。そう信じている。たとえ自ら水銀に染まっても人であることを忘れないと誓っているから。
I actually like that part of her. She was one of those women I wanted to drain completely dry. That moment never actually came, but whatever.
面白い。抜かすじゃねえか、クソチビ。俺の器だ。なめんじゃねえよ。てめえごときとは格が違う。
ならばそれを見せてください。
おい、目ん玉かっぽじって見さらせや。
From then on, I started giving it my all. Sure, I didn't go beyond formation, but besides that limit, I didn't hold back whatsoever. I wasn't the type to do it, but Beatrice didn't intend to either. She wasn't wrong that it would have come to this regardless.
Way to kill my fucking eardrums, Mike! Ow! Oh, that hurt!
Countless lightning bolts and stakes tore apart the forest as we almost competitively exterminated the corpses swarming over us like the maggots infesting them. Needless to say, I wasn't counting. There's a reason I used the word countless. A 2 versus 10,000 battle is far too hectic to care about the progress you're making. If I had to name one thing that was on my mind at the time, it'd be Machina. The guy had also faced thousands of enemies all by himself. Not only that, but they weren't anything like the ragdolls I was up against. They were Einar Jarl, all champions of the battlefield. He fought them all and ended up coming out on top. I couldn't help but respect his valor, and that was exactly why I didn't want to lose to him in that regard. Basically, you know, fucking this up wasn't even an option.
よく頑張ったわ、二人とも。おかげでこっちの準備は完了した。
Wait, really? That's what you were doing? I thought you were just giving us... Nope, I thought you were giving us kids time to go... Okay. Alright, where's Claudia? Obviously I was fired up something fierce, but all that heat ended up going nowhere.
イエツラ、アッピダモールス。
Oh, holy sh... Now that I didn't see coming.
Why? Because our leader ended up taking all the spotlight. Beatrice and I were so focused on what we had before us that we forgot the one most suited for handling this anomaly and what her power was. She was given the order by Lord Hydrock himself, for fuck's sake. The result was set in stone before we even got here.
さあ、これで楽になったでしょ。あとは残敵を掃討しなさい。
The army of corpses still stretched as far as the eye could see, but about half of them had completely stopped moving. They looked like some freakish trees. In a way, the scene was even more disturbing than before.
すごい。指揮権を奪ったんですか。
Damn!
まあそういうことね。少し時間はかかったけれど、これでもう多勢に無勢というわけじゃない。
Number 11 of the Obsidian Round Table, Lisa Brenner, a lover and manipulator of corpses. In terms of magic, she was a necromancer, putting her in the exact same vein as the anomaly we were staring down. To her, corpses were both tools and weapons, so in this case, it was all a matter of influence, of making it clear who was the top dog.
一度に動かせる数では負けるけど、支配の強さはこちらの方が上みたいね。だから彼らはもう私のもの。
Damn!
早々に終わらせて、それを供養ということにしましょうか。
Suddenly, Babylon's army of the dead turned around in perfect unison and attacked the opposing army. With these allied forces on our sides, we are no longer at a disadvantage. After all, it wasn't like Babylon picked the corpse at random. She obviously prioritized the ones closest to us, effectively creating an orderly unit and making it clear which side was ours and which wasn't. The chances of Beatrice and I accidentally attacking our own were negligible. Though battle formations primarily existed to increase the speed at which orders were relayed, they also helped avoid harming your own. Additionally, if I have observed them properly, I could tell them apart by the type of arcane arts that animated them. This allowed me to go wild without worrying about wasting my souls.
愛しい人よ、私はあなたに口づけをしました。そう、口づけをしたのです。とても苦い味がするものなの。
I have kissed thy mouth, my beloved. I have kissed thy mouth.
There was a bitter taste on thy
こ
lips.
れが血の味。いいね。もしかしたら恋の味ではないかし
Was it the taste of blood? But perchance it is the taste of love.
Babylon's on an airbay, Polita Moore, had a pretty fucking grim history. It was basically both a corpse shroud and a death mask. Some assholes with a taste for sarcasm may even call it a holy cloth, like the Shroud of Turin, but that couldn't be less fitting. The damn thing was made out of the skin of human brats. Not only that, but Babylon herself was the one who made it. Most of us, I, Beatles, even Lord Heydrich himself, got our Ononairbay from the Dutch Ononairbay, Nazi think tank for occult shit.
Is it Duchess? No. Fuck.
However, the Obsidian Table also had members that had created, or rather, nurtured their own weapons. They'd spent the war killing so much that their dear little toys gathered enough karma and misery to enter the realm of the paranormal. Machinas, Samiels, Schreibers, and Babylon's relics were all among those ranks. Though it's true they didn't have much of a history to them, that didn't mean they were weak. Like I said before, even in the world of magic, newer things were almost always stronger. The fact that they were created in such a short time meant that they had great density. You had tons of child-killing women all throughout history, but those that matched Lisa's numbers are pretty fucking rare. Apparently, she also did with love and affection for them. Bitch definitely had a few screws, let's I tell ya. It didn't and still doesn't really matter to me, though. Can't say I ever gave a shit about her backstory, but there's one thing I can say for certain.
い。よかな。よかな。あなたばかりが美しい。
Yokohan, Yokohan, thou wert beautiful. A woman's love can become a really fucking shitty curse. I know that from experience, and I doubt anyone would argue. She wore the skin of her beloved dead children as a dress while controlling a horde of corpses. Made her look like some sort of dark saint. The corrupted whore of Babylon, Mother Harlot, the sinful Holy Mother Mary. She was the embodiment of the Third Reich's madness. As far as I knew, she could gain greater power over the dead by changing her Ononairbay into a mask and putting it on the corpse. But she was focusing on numbers here. The garment of undeath decorated Lisa Brenner like a stage actor. I felt like I was watching an opera of death, the magic pulsing through the earth's veins caught Kachin's anomaly like a fly in a web. It was as though she was caressing its head, embracing it, and saying, "There, there, good boy, listen to me."
おっかねえな男殺しが
And coming from you, that's a hell of an accomplishment.
She was summoning the memories of their mother and the peace of the cradle. It was a lethal poison to all men, and not even the emptiest of corpses could escape it. Then again, their emptiness might have been exactly why they couldn't resist. Fastidious little Beatrice clearly looked uncomfortable, but she wasn't dumb enough to complain about all the reinforcements we got. Her superior Samiel got along with Babylon like cats and dogs, so she probably figured this wasn't a good time to act as her proxy. With that in mind, it was clear that what we had to do next.
で、さっさと終わらせますよ。
ああ偉そうに言うんじゃねえよてめえこそ息が上がってんじゃねえのか
誰がありえませんね。見てなさい。
To finally take care of the situation before us, we just had to go all in.
I wonder what Claudia's thinking as all this is happening.
And so,
どうやら一応の型はついたようね。
ah, goody. Babylon looked around the silent forest and sighed. She undid her formation, returned the corpses under her command to mere cadavers, and pulled out a watch.
だいたい3時間と少しか。まあ、なかなかの手際だったと言うべきでしょうね。大丈夫？
ええ、おかげで助かりました。感謝します。
それはこちらのセリフでしょう。もともとこの件は私がやるべきことだったんだし。だから2人ともありがとう。助かったわ。
The rain had already stopped and the woods were shrouded in silence. If you ignore the corpses littered all over the area, it was more or less a normal forest.
Also, it was actually very interesting seeing Lisa fight. I mean, she kind of pseudo fought somewhat I don't know, we just got a different kind of display of what her powers could do, because I knew that she had the Mask of Death, but I didn't know how this is going to help out in this. But apparently, she can actually, instead of creating the mask, she can literally just spread out the influence and do it that way, which that's actually pretty cool.
それじゃあ、あとはクラウディアだな。あのバカは俺が探しておくからよ。お前らもう帰っていいぜ。
いえ、ここまで来たら最後まで付き合います。私としても彼女のことが気になっていますし、すでに何回も言いましたが、あなたにクラウディアを任せるのは反対ですから。
またそれかよ。お前はほんとしつけえな。そんなんじゃ男どもに嫌われるぜ。
結構です。間違ったことを言っているつもりはありませんし、それに文句をつけるような男性ならこちらからお断りですよ。だいたいあなたはクラウディアがはぐれた時に何の気遣いも示さなかった身で、今さら何を言ってるんですか。全く説得力がありませんよ。
No, she does have you there, buddy.
As much as she pissed me off, she wasn't wrong. Though Claudia was important to me, in a warped way, of course. There was no denying that I forgot her whenever I grew too passionate about whatever was happening before me. That was part of my nature, and I couldn't do much about it. I wasn't good at thinking far ahead, though I had to protect the one I'd eventually consume. I generally lived in the moment, and had trouble hiding it.
そうね。女の目線から言わせてもらうと、ベイに足りないのは危機感かな。クラウディアはいい子だし、あなたに恩義を感じているから逃げもしない。その事実にあぐらをかいているんでしょう。要するに、自分が振られるわけないと思ってる。
ああ、そうですね。その通りです。たまにいますよね、こういう男。一体どこからその自信が湧いてくるのか、甚だ理解に苦しみます。
Well, this is Bay we're talking about. He doesn't seem to have that much of a respect unless the person in question actually has the ability to kill him.
どんなに存在な扱いをしても、あいつはずっと俺のことを好きに違いないとか思ってるんでしょ。頭パーですか、あなたは。
We definitely weren't on the same page, but they weren't wrong about me lacking a sense of danger. I took Claudia's presence for granted and thought that had never changed, so I never even considered making a mistake related to her. Since the time I'd killed Helga and experienced the greatest sense of accomplishment, my life had gone exactly how I wanted. I barely even knew what failure was. Sure, Lord Hydric stomped me, but I consider that a blessing. I had no experience with a real disgrace. Mercurius's words? Bullshit, all of it. Deep inside, I vaguely believed that I'd never lose or be humiliated.
あまり余裕に構えていると、ある日ポンと捨てられちゃうわよ。もしくは別の誰かに取られたりとか。そこらへん少し考えた方がいいかもね。
うるせえな。で、結局お前らもついてくんのか。
ええ、クラウディアのこともそうだけど、まだやるべきことがあるからね。
あ？なんだそりゃ。
You mean like the source of the anomaly might actually be here?
Babylon sighed and shrugged as if to indicate I just asked something stupid.
まだ怪異の元を絶っていない。それをどうにかしない限り、何度でも同じことが起きるわよ。
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
いっそのこと、ここで全部仮装でもできれば別だけどね。
Also, to be fair, it did rain, so the ground's kind of wet, so we can't really burn anything right now.
She's taking us to look around. Well, she wasn't wrong there.
ああ、なるほど。所詮これは触媒に過ぎないということですか。カチンに屍の山がある以上、キリがないわけですね。
Sure, we'd shattered and neutralized the magic animating the corpses this time, but they could easily rise again if given power once more. The source of it all was the magician. We had to find his cadaver or hideout or whatever, and destroy it so it'd stop leaking the abnormality. We'd been ordered to deal with the anomaly, so going back without taking care of its true form wasn't an option.
そういうこと。だから任務はまだ途中。
True.
クラウディアのことは心配だけど、優先するならこちらでしょ。 あの子を連れたまま虎穴に入るわけにもいかないからね。
I heaved a long sigh and nodded.
わかったよ。それでお前に当てはあるのか？
一応ね。家賃の怪異は雨と満月の日に起きると言ったでしょ。ここで見るべきは前者。
Rain then. She was basically telling us to come to the conclusion on our own. While I tilted my head in confusion, Beatrice nodded in understanding.
わかりました。下ですね。
ええ、これも言ったと思うけど、きっと原因は地中にある。
Okay, I'm pretty sure that was just a pun, the whole root in the earth thing there, really?
元からあった危ないものの上に死体を埋めてしまったから、雨によって道ができてしまうのよ。簡単な理屈ね。
That makes sense.
Water flows downward, and so does blood. The massacre here rejuvenated the old and withered arcane sleeping deep within the earth.
そうかい。大まか理解した。しかしだったらどうすんだ？今から穴でも掘るのかよ。
最悪それも考えてるけど、まずは周辺を見て回りましょう。ちょうどここは丘の上だし、降りれば何かあるかもしれない。
例えば洞窟とか？
そんなものね。じゃあ方針も決まったところで行きましょうか。
Alright.
We followed after Babylon, went down the corpse-covered hill and began exploring the surroundings. Finding something that fit the description was no trouble at all.
ここみたいね。
Oh shit, that was easy. Just as Beatrice expected, there was a slanted cave opening. Frankly, it didn't look all that special, but exploring it seemed like our best option. Plus,
これクラウディアのですよね。
Her hat thing? Oh, kerchief.
we found Claudia's kerchief right next to the entrance. Its presence helped me form a really simple conclusion.
俺らが死体と遊んでる間ここに避難してたわけか。まあ、あいつにしちゃ上出来だな。
That or she was kidnapped?
またあなたはそんな適当に。さっきリザさんも言ったでしょ。補欠かもしれないんですよ。
どうかしらね。
Babylon placed her hand on the jaw and peered into the cave. There was prudence in her tone.
特に嫌な気配は感じないし、本当にただの洞窟なのかもしれない。だったらあの子は無事でしょうけど、ただの人間には反応しないだけってこともある。いずれにせよ入ってみないとわからないわね。
つまりこうか？俺らみたいなもんが入った瞬間、中の状況が一気に変わる可能性もある。
Looks like it.
だからここであまりクラウディアに意識を割くなと。
そうね。気になるでしょうけど、呼びかけたりはしないように。念を入れて悪いこともないでしょう。中の者がクラウディアに気づいてないなら、あえて気づかせる必要もないということ。
I can see where she's coming from.
Well, if you asked me, she was being needlessly cautious, but there was logic in her words. After all, sensors were used to spot threats. The castle of a magician would never recognize mere women and children as such, and if Claudia slipped by unnoticed, it was best she stayed that way.
Don't want to call out to her and give away her, location.
Though honestly, a part of me thought that giving her a bit of a scare would be for the better.
わかった。それじゃあさっさと入ろうぜ。俺らには牙を向いてくるかもしれねえが、別にビビってなんかいねえだろ。
With how thoroughly one-sided that was, yeah.
当たり前です。
了解。だけど油断はしないようにね。
And so the three of us walked in. The entrance was tight, but the inside was decently wide and tall. The path was a slight downward slope. We began walking down, and after about 2 minutes, the space billowed out enough to let 10 people walk side by side.
驚きですね。これは想像以上に広くて深い。ここまで一本道だから迷うことはありませんが、それでも尋常じゃない感じですよ。
同感ね。それに気づいてる？ 多分この洞窟螺旋状になってるわよ。
Helical?
The path was constantly curving, so I had the same impression. Combined with the fact that we were going downwards, it was fair to assume the overall design was a spiral.
So if we're going downward in a spiral, it's basically like a spiral staircase.
だったら一体何なんだよ。
ですね、わからないんですか？つまりこの洞窟は立体的な意味を持つということですよ。これで特定の区画ごとに仕掛けが施されていたら一種の陣を描くのかもしれません。
例えば俯瞰で見るとペンタグラムやヘキサグラム、まああり得ることよね。
つっても別に何もねえじゃねえかな。
I looked around and didn't notice anything strange. Sure, we didn't have any sources of light on us, but that didn't stop me from seeing the inside of the cave down to the finest details. Our eyesight was, and still is, still good for normal darkness to cause any problems. Keyword: normal.
早計よベイ。もう少しで最初の円を一回りする。何かあるとすればそろそろだと思うから。
The moment she warned me. I stepped into emptiness. Surprised me, but the lack of a falling sensation made it clear I didn't just walk into some hole. Even so, I couldn't feel anything beneath my feet, not to mention that I couldn't see anything. Again, my eyesight isn't normal. I'm confident it outclasses those shitty night vision scopes. Despite that, I couldn't see a single inch in front of me. Felt like I'd been ejected into outer space or something.
へえ。こりゃまたやるじゃねえか。
But exactly because of that situation actually brought me great joy. Sure, it pissed me off that they got me first, but it was clear that I'd finally found a proper opponent. I also realized that I'd been separated from Babylon and Beatrice. I couldn't see them, of course, but I couldn't feel their presence either. For all I knew, they might have been right next to me, but the darkness was far too thick for me to know. It had both the density and the quality to cut off not just vision, but the other senses too.
で、一体どうしてくれるんだ？
Now that I'd activated a trap, there were many exciting twists and turns I could experience. I gave the opponent a moment to make their move, but the darkness and the silence remained unchanging.
武将な野郎め、来いってか。
It was hard to call it walking when I didn't actually feel anything beneath my feet, but that was more or less what I started doing. I didn't know about the others, but I obviously wasn't the type to be scared of the dark. I unhesitatingly continued forward, fully intent on making something happen. I hoped to see something tasteful, something stimulating. That was pretty much the only thing on my mind. My heart was hungering for thrill. What I got, though, was nothing I expected.
また失敗した。
A voice resounded through the darkness. There was a woman's lament, dense with shame and indignation.
どうしてなんでうまくいかない？これだけのことをしてきて今さらダメだったじゃ済まされないのに。結果を出さなければ全てが無駄になってしまうだけじゃないの。
I recognized the voice. It belonged to a person I knew pretty well. A woman I just talked to just a few moments ago. Even so, I could tell that it wasn't the same person talking. Her words are completely unrelated to the situation at hand, after all.
Like past Lisa?
つってもただのまやかしってわけじゃねえな。
It was very real, in fact. It was the truth about the woman known as Lisa Brenner.
だから立ち止まるわけにはいかない。
Suddenly, a strange vision expanded before me.
もう一度最初から考えてみよう。間違ったのはどこか。どの段階で私はいらぬ手を加えたのか。いいえ、違う。私は何をやらなかったのか。
It was a tasteless, sterile-looking room. In it, there was a woman moaning out words as her cheeks shook with fright. She was clearly at her wit's end. Panic, irritation, and fear in her expression weren't enviable in the least. From what I could tell, she'd barely bathed, ate, or slept recently. Her hair was greasy, her clothes were worn out, and her cheeks were thin. Despite it all, however, her tired eyes were burning with a passion. She looked like a soldier on the verge of snapping after being thrown to the worst battlefield imaginable. Hell, all the death and absurdity in the room made it feel much like a battlefield in and of itself.
こりゃまたやるもんだ。話には聞いてたが、なるほど。こいつは確かにバビロンか。
The woman was surrounded by countless corpses. At first glance, it didn't look like that any wounds, but that made the scene even more eerie. I couldn't even tell which of the brats are boys or girls, considering they were all under 10. That probably wasn't all that special, but I could tell that it was mostly due to their fucked upbringing. A warped environment makes for warped growth. It's like brats brought up by wolves grew up to think they were wolves, so too did the corpses here look like they hadn't led a normal human life. Coming from me, that must be pretty fucking rich. Still, the scene was both grotesque and somewhat divine. In a way, these genderless brats are like angels. Their brains are tampered with to open the channels of consciousness unused by normal people, forcing them to see colors and hear sounds imperceivable by anyone else, interacting with such things that cause them to break under the weight of their own power. Evolution, eugenics, the children of the sun, the Third Reich's future, the creation of the Ubermensch. That was Lisa Brenner's goal, and the result was staring me in the face. These angels weren't blowing the trumpets of blessing. The woman's castle, ironically called the Fount of Life, was a place that only created more death.
つうことだろうが。
What of it, though? Was there any point in showing that vision to me? It made me feel kind of funny and stupid. Like I walked in on someone I knew fucking, but that was the extent of it. I didn't see the meaning behind the show. Ignoring my confusion, the scene continued.
サイキックを生むという方針そのものは間違ってない。危うい思想ではあるけれど、今さら綺麗事がまかり通る世界じゃないのよ。博愛と平等を歌ったところで戦争は終わらないから。終わらせるには圧倒的な力。それを生み出す正義の鼓舞。どこもかしこも自分たちが世界一優秀な民族だと言っている。そう言っているだけだから戦況は混沌とするのよ。自負は形にしないと意味がない。我々の子供たちこそ新たな世界を担う進化した人類の先駆けだと。内外に見せつけるには少しくらい頭や見た目がいいというだけじゃ足りない。既存人類にはできないことができる。その枠を超えた存在だと認めさせる。そのためにはサイキック、問答無用で一目瞭然。
Miracles brought humans to their knees. They feared and revered them. After all, no one would resist a country full of people who could fly. Our relationship with Lord Hydric was similar. Hell, you could say the same about most religions. Everyone would follow the words of someone who could come back from the dead or predict the future. Of course, I could see Babylon's point. If a man's lot in war was to bleed on the battlefield and a woman's was to birth and nurture children, her ultimate goal was to create an evolved next generation. If the Third Reich could mass-produce psychics, it would instantly be considered a glorious land chosen by God or whatever. That notion might seem simplistic, but when shit turns way too convoluted, it's the basic punches that deal the most damage. If you ask me, to seize control over something huge like a world war, need a degree of clarity most would consider fucking stupid. I mean, World War II resulted in the creation of the nukes. Back then, in terms of ridiculousness, that was pretty much the equivalent of flying psychics.
だからここまで私は間違っていない。サイキックを生む方法も9割方確立している。ただ問題は
Babylon looked around. All she saw were the corpses of the little angels.
それに耐えられる子がいないということ。汎用性が全くない。じゃあもっと基準を下げるべき？それは本末転倒というものでしょう。むしろ今はとことんまで性能を突き詰めた原種を生むことに注力した方がいい。ここで妥協をしないことが続くすべての底上げにつながるはずだし、最初の成功がなければ次もないから。この子たちの犠牲を無駄にはしない。してはいけない。そのためにはやはり。
She bit her finger. Her legs shook and her face turned pale, giving me a good idea of what she was thinking. I wasn't completely clueless back then, and hell, it was a pretty damn simple train of thought.
優生学。天才の子は天才で、超人の子は超人。
Mixing the army's elites and women from some respected household wasn't enough to creature superhuman brats. Because of that, there was only one answer.
私が産むしかないわけね。
One of the claws and fangs of the gold. A knight of the Obsidian Round Table, Lisa Brenner herself was a fitting mother to a superhuman. It was only obvious. In fact, you'd expect it to be the first thing she ever tried. And from what I've heard, she actually did just that. Tons of times, too.
けど、どうしたら私に子供が。誰と、どんなに、どれほどしても、お腹に命が宿らない。最大の欠陥は、つまるところ、私の資質。これほどたくさんの子供を殺し、愛もなく男性とつながってきた私じゃ、母になる資格はないというの。
I mean, crimes against humanity might, you know, be another thing, but...
でも、だったら、本当にどうしようも。
Her panic and fear was alien to me, obviously. Unless we're shooting blanks or something, we men have hundreds of chances to make a brow with a single release of our seed. A barren field, though, doesn't bear any fruit, so it's clearly much harsher for women. Considering the situation, the only logical conclusion was that there was something wrong with her womb. And funnily enough, Babylon, whose goal was the birth of the ultimate human, found an impassable barrier in infertility. Just as she'd said, without a single success, she would never have a second one.
どうすれば、どうしたら。
But then again, if we're thinking realistically, sometimes there are some women that just have difficulty even having one child to begin with. I mean, there's a lot of different complications that could take place, but I really should not be trying to bring in real world stuff with this. I really shouldn't.
子供が欲しい。この手に抱きたい。ああ、どうか私に母となれる資格を。それさえ叶えば、なんだって。
Regardless of their goal, that definitely wasn't something a mass murder of other people's brats had any right to say. All irony aside, though, this is definitely a prime example of a woman giving in to madness. Because of that...
悪魔に魂を売っても構わない。
Pop, there goes the weed, there it is.
よかろう。ならば御身の真実を教える。
Oh god, no, Mercurius!
I half expect the voice I heard next. The words were accompanied by a storm of visual static.
あなたはいつから。
I could feel the woman's surprise in her tone. The magician ignored it and continued blessing her with his mercurial curse.
御身は誕生を夢見ながら死を抱いている。死体を抱くことでしか愛を感じることができぬ女だ。サロメのように。
Wait a minute, Salome. What's the character in the Makai Kingdom?
接吻は暖冬に、化粧はムクロに、飾り立てるならばシュラウドに。愛し合うなら母性をしとねにするがそう。生きた男をどれだけ抱いても、御身の腹は受け入れぬ。超人を望むなら、常人の営みなど捨てるが道理が。それでこそ増年金とは生まれいでる。
What the hell are you saying?
I want you to fuck a dead guy.
つまり。
What he was telling her to do was...
そう。近々極上の死体が生まれる予定だ。火は逃されるなよ、大インク殿。何度も試せることではない。ああ、よかなん、よかなん。死したお前こそが美しいと歌いながら交わればよい。
Mercurius, what the hell are you doing to my computer? Anytime that you show up with your mercurial power, you cause my computer to go into overdrive. Like, it's going loud right now because of Mercurius.
Then the darkness returned. Once again, surrounded by a deafening silence, I heaved a light sigh.
それで結局何なんだよ。
I still didn't see the point in making me sit through that. Sure, I could tell that they were Babylon's memories and an important of that what made her what she was now, but it didn't seem to be connected to the situation at hand in any way, shape, or form. Though it wasn't a complete waste of time, it wasn't particularly interesting either. It barely made me feel a thing. Babylon probably felt the same way. Assuming she saw it too, it was likely nothing more than a poke on an old wound for her, and she definitely wasn't weak enough to be broken by that. A woman who was ready to sell her soul to the devil wouldn't be daunted by a glimpse of her dark side. That was why I...
あ、待てよ。暗部か。なるほど、つまり。
As I realized the meaning behind the vision, the darkness was removed once more.
Beatrice is next, I assume?
Yep.
私が犯した罪は
Forgive me for I have sinned.
心からの信頼においてあなたの命に反したこと。
Born of loyalty, your will I once defied.
I saw a woman repenting while holding up her blade in reverence. First came the darkness of Babylon's soul, and now it was Beatrice's turn.
私は愚かであなたのお役に立てなかった。
Forgive me for I am not but a fool, but never your equal.
だからあなたの炎で包んでほしい。
Let your crimson pyres have their fill.
These were the memories from when she accepted the Mercury's words and became a knight of the obsidian table. The only thing whirling in her heart was regret and motivation. It was all made visual and become a film for me to watch.
貴様何を笑っている。
The place was a simplistic field hospital, and Beatrice was sitting on a chair next to a bed within it. A woman on the bed stared at her with fiery eyes. It was Samiel. No two ways about it. These were memories from the time she got those burns. It was the year 1942, about 2 years back. Specifically the day when the news of Lord Hydric's assassination began to spread. Of course, that was just misinformation. I didn't believe it for a second. However, I'd be lying if I said that it didn't shake me. These two weren't all that different in that regard.
あの時私は本当に笑みを浮かべていたのだろうか。今でもそれはわからない。ハイドリヒ教の死という法を受けた少佐は戦場で彼女らしからぬ失態を演じた果てに再起不能の身となった。命だけは取り留めたが軍人としての未来を完全に絶たれたのだ。いや、それだけではない。半身を覆う重度の火傷はエレオノーレ・フォン・ビッテンブルグという人物を女性としても殺している。見た目の痛ましさはもちろんのこと、情感が失ったものを思えば笑っていられるはずがない。
Well, yeah, I mean, an event like that would definitely change somebody.
だけどなぜか、ああ、だからこそ
嬉しいかキルヒハイゼン。
嬉しい。そうだ、私はこの時ほっとしたのだ。これで自分たちは救われると、あるべき日常に帰れると。戦況は最悪で祖国は滅びるかもしれなくて、家族も友人も我々自身も死ぬか不具者になるしかないだろうと思いながらも助かったと安堵したのだ。なぜならそれは人としての結末だから。どれだけ不幸なものであろうと私が理解できる世界の形を外れてないから。
Basically, hearing of the Gold's death had made her feel the exact opposite of Samiel, who was overcome with despair. The regret that festered within her due to that sentiment shaped her into what she was now.
ハイドリヒ教は死んだのですね。
Her words were stiff, and it was hard to tell whether she was crying or laughing. The next moment, Samiel hit Beatrice's head with a nearby flower vase.
テ
て行け。貴様の顔など見たくない。
少佐。
出て行け。今すぐ殺すぞ。二度とその面を私に見せるな。
Following her bellowing, she collapsed and started groaning while huffing like a beast. Beatrice watched as Eleanor tore into the sheet so hard that her half-melted fingernails came off. Then Beatrice stood up.
新しい花瓶を持ってきます。
She wanted to bring Samuel flowers and stay with her no matter how many times her superior hit her. It was all she could do. She felt like it was something she absolutely had to do. There was nothing else in her heart that moment, and it made her feel free for the first time in years. At least in terms of the worldview she so wanted to believe in anyway.
戦争はまだ終わらない。人死にも止まらない。おそらく祖国が敗北するまで。いや、きっとその後も。悲劇は連鎖し続けるだろう。だけど、私と少佐に限っては、もう戦いを終えたのだ。
And then Mercurius decides to kindly pop up like, "Hey, how are you doing?"
黄金の光に飲まれ、人でないものへと変わる恐怖。最も危惧していた未来を避けることができたのだから。あとはただ、軍人として当たり前に進めばいい。その運命を受け入れればいい。
It's very interesting because I was kind of curious about how if we would get a chance to kind of see Samiel before, well, you know, current Samiel, but seeing the moment that she well, not really seeing the actual moment, but seeing the aftermath of her receiving the scars that she got, and just seeing the juxtaposition in both Beatrice and her own reaction, like seeing how their views of Hydric caused, well, their semi-relationship to just fracture.
何も難しくない。簡単なこと。そう思って愚かにも信じ込んでしまったこと。それが私にとって最大の後悔。
He wasn't wrong there. Beatrice was acting really damn stupid. Oh!
She had no way of knowing this, but a moment after Beatrice left, Samuel was visited by none other than the Gold himself, alive and well. Samuel was shocked at first, but then began to shed tears of pure joy. A moment later, Lord Hydric took her in her arms.
Oh my god! Oh! Oh my! Ooh! You know, honestly, I would have expected this to just be, like, somebody's actual fan art, but to see this official sort of image, I never would have... First off, the idea of Samuel blushing. I can't even fucking imagine it. Even seeing it now, it's hard to believe.
一度死んだ身なのはお互いだろ。はい、はい、どこまでも。
So in the end, the only idiot was Beatrice. She couldn't bear the reality and escaped to a comforting delusion. Really, how stupid can he get? I mean, there's no way Lord Hydric could die. Ignoring reality to protect her own little world made her a real failure as a soldier, a fact that weighed heavy on her. If you ask me, even if Beatrice stayed by Samuel's side and didn't leave for even a second, the end result wouldn't have changed.
失敗を犯したのは確かだから。私が愚かだったのは事実だから。悔いが残るのだ。取り戻したいと切に願う。
しかり、その思いこそ御身の真実。
Don't you dare start my computer up again, Mercurius!
Another storm of static, followed by a magician's curse or blessing. God damn it, man.
御身は輝く魂を追い、死を量産する。英霊をバルハラへ招く死神であり、グラズヘイムの先兵たるにふさわしきもの。
This is fucking Mercurius. God damn it, what are you doing? Why are you doing this to my computer? This is supposed to be a very important moment!
その業を祝福し、マナーを送ろう、バルキュリア。戦場をかける来光のごとき、戦を止めよ。
Beatrice clenched her teeth in disgrace, thoroughly denying her alias.
私は道を照らす光になりたい。
She embraced her blade and promised to continue being human, no matter how deep in the sea of Mercury she sunk.
なるほどな。
The film vanished, leaving nothing but the darkness. Once again, the situation hadn't changed at all. From what I could tell, this place is all about darkness as a concept. It included the dark sides of human hearts and souls, and being here made them materialize before you. In that sense, it was actually a pretty good defense mechanism. The invaders probably couldn't leave this place until they faced and defeated the darkness within. It was too indirect for my taste, but I couldn't deny that it was bothersome. After all, there wasn't a single person in the world without a dark side.
Oh, that makes me wonder if we're gonna see either Wilhelm or maybe Claudia's.
Not to mention that, assuming I was right about having to face the darkness, there was no way to tell what exactly you had to do. And even if I had a means of getting rid of my dark side, there was the question of if going through with it would alter me somehow. After all, the memories I just saw now were important parts of who Babylon and Beatrice were as people. Taking them out would be the equivalent of removing your spine. You just crumble to the ground. With that in mind, I had to come up with a way to remove this darkness.
めんどくせえな。哲学じみてきやがった。
It was definitely very magician-like, though. Malice would probably have made short work of the barrier, but since she wasn't there, I had to do something myself. There's only one real option for me.
ほら次だ。さっさと来いよ。
First and foremost, I had to see what my darkness actually was.
あらやだ。そんなの簡単なことよ。
Go away, Mom! Oh, wait. Yep. What I saw was a woman standing in a garden of crimson roses. With a wide, broken smile on her face, she bathed in the fountain of blood. I knew that sane expression all too well. The unnatural passion shining endlessly in her crimson eyes made me click my tongue. I wasn't amused by the sight whatsoever. Preparing for her to get on my nerves, I made a point to speak as bluntly as possible.
ヘルガかよ。
そうよ。こうして面と向かうのは久しぶりね。嬉しいわ、ユルヘルム。あの時あなたに愛されて以来、もうどれくらい経ったのかしら。
Oh, shut it.
昨日のことのように覚えてるわ。
Don't.
ちゃんと毎日ご飯を食べてる？風邪なんかひいてない？私に会えなくて寂しかった？ねえ、また昔みたいに抱きしめてよ。
うるせえ、黙れ。
I wasn't into the idea of wasting time listening to some demented hag talk, so I raised a finger and made myself clear.
決まりは一つだ。質問するから、てめえはバカみたいに答えろ。聞いてもねえこと勝手にペラ回しやがったら。
殺しちゃうって？じゃあそうしてもらおうかな。だって私は。
Cutting her words short, I punched Helga in the face. Her silhouette scattered into pieces, accompanied by the sound of a bursting water balloon.
そうよ、それ。あなたのそういうところが私は大好き。
I literally obliterated your face. You shouldn't be talking, goddammit. And she's back.
リル、私の愛しい私の息子。めちゃめちゃにして、私を愛して。
I'm starting to think my own Irae has a bit of a problem. She stood up from the puddle of blood I reduced her to, regaining her form in the process. It seemed not even turning her to dust could make her disappear. I more or less expected it, so I wasn't surprised. But it sure as hell pissed me off. Bitch annoyed me to no end, I swear.
お前が俺の闇っていうことでいいのか？
もちろん。 そうよ。そうに決まってるじゃない。あなたにとって一番拭えない記憶は私でしょ。一番深い血の絆。
Her form wriggled like an amoeba as her corrupted, blood-stained eyes took a crescent shape. I could see a red fang peeking out of her grinning mouth.
とっくに死んだ奴が抜かしてんじゃねえよ。血のつながりならてめえをぶち殺した時に清算してるわ。
あらそう。でもそれならどうして私はあなたの中にいるのかしら。
Because my Nerte is fucking weird.
愛しいビル、吸血鬼になりたいビル。私から生まれたっていう現実が許せないのね。だから壊した我が始まりよ、灰になれって。
Yeah, I cut away the curse of my origin. That was a truth I had confidence in. I mean, who'd ever accept that a filthy crow gave birth to a phoenix? I had to right that wrong, to break that idea and be reborn.
なのに未だに私とあなたはつながっている。
Sick sense of humor, if you ask me.
切れないのよ。家族なんだし当たり前じゃない。あなたは今でも私を愛した日の記憶を抱いている。忘れたくないんだよね。だから私も忘れない。あなたが覚えてるから消えたりしない。もっともっと激しく長く永遠に。私ずっと一緒よ、ビルヘルム。それが私とあなたをつなぐ闇の賜物。
うるせえ。
照れないで素直になってよ。またムッターの血が吸いたいんでしょ、甘えん坊さん。
黙れと言ったぞ。
I threw another punch! Reduced her to a bloody mist, but even that wasn't enough to stop her from talking. Her voice resounded all around me.
愛してるわ、ビルヘルム。私を求めて、私を見てよ。私がいればいいじゃない。だってどうせあなたは私以外に。
With both ridicule and affection in her tone, Helga imparted those cursed words upon me.
手に入るものなんか何もないわよ。
The moment I roared,
ビルヘルム。
the darkness disappeared with a sound like the ebbing of a tide. Claudia? No, it didn't disappear. It escaped.
それにコウモリだろ。
There were so many such animals that thousands seemed like an understatement. The dark living creatures were treated like an avalanche. It was safe to assume they were what comprised the darkness I was just in. The swarming horde of little animals made me feel slightly disgusted, but that didn't really matter given the situation. What mattered was the question of why they were scattering. I hadn't done anything to make it happen. Nothing in my face-off with Helga could be described as me dealing with my dark side. All I did was tell her to fuck off, but if that was enough, then this wouldn't have been a problem for anyone.
気に入らねえぞ。舐めやがって。
All I knew is that I wasn't the one who took care of my problem. I found that degrading, since I wasn't the all's well that ends well type of guy. With that in mind, I stood in place and considered the situation just so I could feel that I passed the challenge by myself.
俺がヘルガを忘れてねえだと。それが未だに縛られてる証だと。
Well, it was definitely true that I hadn't forgotten her. Back then, it had only been 15 or 16 years since I killed her. My memory wasn't convenient enough to just let me delete her, the event, or anything. Did the fact that I remembered her mean I love her? No fucking way! It's normal to remember the people you fucked in the past. You might lose all attachment to them, but you won't just forget.
じゃあなんだ。特別視している面があるとでも。笑わせんなよ。否定はしねえが種類が違う。
So fucked up. Helga left an impression on me because she was my first woman. Sure, that made her special, but she was a memento at most, a mere trophy. Anyone who tried to find bonds or love in that had a few screws loose. I tell ya, It was the stupid, pathetic babbling you'd expect from someone who's brain dead. Obviously, I had no ear for such bullshit, so I concluded that I would have won the argument even if it wasn't cut short.
てめえは俺の唯一無二なんかじゃねえ。思い上がんじゃねえぞ、間抜け。今後そこにいくらでも首を並べてやろうじゃねえか。見てやがれ。
Ooh, decrepit church?
After I said that, my vision grew completely clear. First thing I saw, it's Claudia.
てめえ、こんなところにいたのかよ。
Wait, did she see all of that?
We were at the deepest part of the cavern, in a room that seemed like a burial chamber. Claudia was lying on the floor completely unconscious and looking like the careless idiot that she was.
Oh, she's unconscious.
The idea that I had to deal with that bothersome bullshit while she was sleeping soundly made me feel both tired and slightly pissed.
おい、おいこら、起きろアホ。
Wakey, wakey! I poked her with my foot, but the only response she gave me were light groans. I prepared to try and wake her up with a stronger kick, but...
あ？これは確か。
An envelope fell out from my uniform. It was the same one I'd gotten from Samuel. I completely forgot its existence, but being surrounded by all those bats probably messed up my clothes and loosened it. I considered just throwing it right away then and there, but seeing it at that moment made me somewhat curious.
なんなんだよ結局。
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna troll you guys in any here. I kind of want to see what's in this.
I mumbled, picked it up, opened it, took out the document inside, and began reading it.
なんだと。
The content made me dot my eyes, and the shock didn't end there.
誰だお前は。
Who are you?
I heard him behind me. It was close enough for me to feel his breath. Not only that, but I felt something blade-like poking into my back.
これはまた、ずいぶんなご挨拶だな。人に名前を尋ねるときはまずてめえから名乗るもんだと知らねえのかよ。
Also, this music.
だから芸のない返答だ。つまらんぞお前。
Also, with the way this guy's face, well, not really the face, but the eyes and shit, kind of reminds me of Xenolith from D-Sky D2.
ああ、言うじゃないかこ
I sounded casual, but I wasn't nearly as calm on the inside. After all, I hadn't felt his presence at all. Sure, I was off guard and he took the opportunity, but that wasn't the point. Though I sometimes overlooked people who were hiding, this was actually the first time I'd failed to react to a hostile sneaking up on me. The weirdest thing about the situation, though,
ほらどうしたやるならさっさとやってみろ。
was the fact that I nonchalantly played along. He caught me off guard, so what? He had a blade? What of it? I was Wilhelm Ehrenberg, one of the gold's claws and fangs in the Knight of the Obsidian Table. He couldn't kill me even if I had a machine gun instead. Hell, I wouldn't even give him time to pull the trigger. If I really wanted to, I could have pierced him without even turning around. And yet I didn't do it, or rather, couldn't do it. My intuition told me that something bad would happen if I did.
そうか。黒煙か。なるほどな。
As I was overcome by an indescribable malaise, the mystery man sighed.
愛も変わらず悪趣味。全く理解に苦しむよ。
Bro, I can't see your face, but I can already tell it looks like you need some sleep.
お前、水銀に言われてここに来たのだな。吸血鬼。
てめ
How did he know of me? Or Mercurius, for that matter.
悪いが面倒事はごめんこむ。お前のムクロで、奴にはこちらの意志を察してもらおう。
Oh, that's cute. He thinks he can kill me.
期待はできんが、他に手も見当たらんことだし。お前もその方が幸せだ。
I felt a shiver run down my spine when... The man's bloodlust wavered. I instantly turned around and fiercely attacked him with the back of my hand. I was confident I got him, but the sensation was vague, as though I just struck a cloud of mist. Before me, there was a black cloak covering my vision. The hell? What was I supposed to make of it? That was the first time someone had made such a fool out of me. I couldn't even tell what he was. I'd experienced something that could shatter my pride, and I didn't even get a chance to make up for it.
あ、ビルヘルム、 助けに来てくれたんですか？
ベイ、それにクラウディア。
As the room grew noisy, I realized that I'd missed the opportunity. I clenched my teeth while the man grinned as put his cloak on again. Oh my god, look. Wait a minute! That's what my clothes. Oh, that's right. So you're the owner of those clothes I was shown.
あなたは一体。
ルート
Ludwig? With fake courtesy, he revealed his name.
ビルートビヒ・バン・ローゼンクランツ、バチカンの工作員だ。つまりお前たちと同じような立場だ。
Ludwig von Rosenkrantz.
話の続きは外へ出てからにさせてもらうぜ。ここはメイン。そちらのお嬢さんも心配だろう。ああ、立てるか。
はい、ありがとうございます。
With knightly regard in his movements, he kneeled before Claudia and extended his hand to her. Oi! She's mine!
なるほど。つまりあなたはあなたで家賃の会を調べに来たと。
Okay, I think that is okay. I've actually gone a bit longer than I intended, but that's okay. Longer episodes are always recommended.
Let's see. Ludwig.
Alright, that seems like a pretty good place for us to go ahead and end it, so interesting. Very interesting. We actually got to see a little bit of not only Beatrice's past, but also Lisa's at the same time. Interesting. Very interesting. And of course we had just, well, honestly, seeing Wilhelm's darkness went about as well as I'd expected, with him just trying to pulverize the damn thing. Well, at least it's in character. Didn't really get to see what was going to be in that document, and it's very interesting seeing how this Vatican operative Ludwig was able to get the upper hand. Well, not really the upper hand, but he was able to get, like, freaking Wilhelm off guard. That's quite an impressive feat, if I must say so myself. But anyway, oh boy. Looking forward to seeing how his place in this story will end up being. But anyway, if you all like this, be sure to let me know. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will definitely see all of you guys in the next video. That seriously, ugh. Honestly, I think the highlight of today's episode, though, definitely seeing that fucking shoujo as fuck looking moment with Samuel and fucking Heydrich. Oh god, see you guys next time.